Hello my friends, and welcome to the metal shop. You may notice large void here in the garage. And if you remember, when the Street Beasts project went away, when I sold it, I had made the decision that I really wanted to own and drive a Cobra. I didn't want to build one. So to that end, once the Street Beasts project was gone, I started my hunt for driving Cobra in my price range, and it took a little while. I mean, it was several months, 5 months ago. However, perseverance pays off. So welcome to my new project. This is my new to me Factory 5 Mark II. And I picked this up local. It was about 75 miles away here in southern New Hampshire. Really nice guy I found on Facebook Marketplace. And essentially, he was giving it away, honestly. Probably $7,000 to $8,000 under market value. And I was just the first person to go and see it. I committed to buy. The guy was an honorable guy, a man of his word. And he gave me right of first refusal, gave me a week to come up with the funds and go and pick up the car. So just you guys who are watching this know a little bit about Cobras probably. And the Factory 5s, the different Mark series. This is the Mark II, which is, really the Mark 1 and 2 is, one segment. Mark 3 and then 4 are another segment, the 3 being transitional, more like the 1 and 2 than the 4. The 4 being the best of the best. They made all of the corrections. These were basically made for using a donor car, an 87 to 93 Fox body Mustang, and their kit at the time was around $12,000, and you could have a car, even with incidentals and parts, under $20,000, you could be into a car. That quickly, went by the wayside with guys wanting to use better, more modern parts. They wanted the 5-lug wheels. And what this guy did, this car was built in Maine. This kit was manufactured in 2003. Like I said, it was built in Maine. He used Lincoln Mark 7s. I apologize for the wind. Beautiful day here. It's September the 11th, 2021, the 20th anniversary of the terrorist attacks on our country. Just want to take a minute to recognize that and show here at the metal shop we will never forget. Still to this day, still hurts, still angry about that attack on our country and our freedom. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. And here there's a shining example of freedom in the American way and what it can do if you work hard. You can own a car like this. Anyway, used Lincoln Mark 7 parts there. And to get the 5-lug wheels, let's see what else. So, hi George. They made a few improvements from the 2s to the 3s, better side impact protection here in the doors. The one thing, and I'll touch on that later, that they did between the Mark II and the Mark III that was just crucial was they made the transmission cross member removable. This car, the transmission cross member is not removable. So you need to service whatever. You're taking the engine and transmission out, or you can cut the cross member out and make it removable yourself. But, I'll get into that in a little bit. Between the Mark II and the Mark III, they made some accommodations so you could put bigger tires in. Those are 275s, pretty big in the back there. Let's see. Now this, just so that we're clear here, this is a driver, okay? This is a turnkey, get in, run and drive, but it's a driver. It's far from perfect, all right? You guys probably saw, there's some paint chips here on the spats, which is pretty normal. That's why they put protections, same as the original cars. Not really much of a surprise there. The exhaust, it looks like he painted it probably with high heat temp paint, the rattle can. The guy I bought it from in New Hampshire was the second owner. Like I said, it was built in Maine by a retired sheriff's deputy, and I think he was a correctional officer. once he retired, and we'll touch on that a little bit. But you can see, you know, the seat belt dung up the paint here and here a little bit. You know, you're not careful, and that brings us to, so these are the old Y style seat belts here, where it's one piece of webbing comes out and it's sewn into the two and it splits. They did that for the Mark 1 and the Mark 2. I believe in the 3 they went to the H style, you know, where the two seat belts come out, which is much better. And I think Factory 5 figured out very quickly that most sanctioning bodies do not allow the 2 into the 1 racing harnesses. So very quickly, you know, they build these cars, you know, they're road cars to drive, but you can make it a race car if you want. These are essentially race cars. So that was one of the first things they did, was they turned the Y into the H. Let's see, Factory 5s have this kind of weird little hump here to accommodate, you know, the license plate and the license plate light. It's just more pronounced on these cars than on the original cars. The original cars had hood and hinges. The Mark 4s have, I think maybe it's an option, but they have provisions for the interior hidden hinges. They're okay, they're not ideal, but they rub. And that was a known issue that they corrected with the hidden hinges, because it moves the trunk out and up a little bit when you open it, and it will clear that. Again, that's a known issue there. Proper Le Mans gas cap, Le Mans gas cap in the right location, very important to me. One roll bar, also very important to me. I am a traditionalist. I want this car to look like it was built in 1966. I don't want it to look like it was built in the 2000s. I don't want 2 chrome roll bars. I don't want big racing seats. I don't want cup holders. I don't want radio. No modern. I don't want any modern amenities in this car. So the later cars, again, Mark 1, 2, and 3, they use this 2-inch roll bar, and it looks nice. It looks beefy. The original cars, as we all know, were 1.5 inch. The Mark 4s they come with the 1.5 inch, and they're also canted back slightly. The originals came up to this point and they canted back, and none of the originals had these super slick, you know, grommets with the, you know, with the polished stainless deal here. They didn't have any of that, but that's a very minor thing that I can live with. This car has the sun visors and the wings, proper mirrors. I don't care for the Factory 5 shifter. It's adequate, but they make a nice reproduction of the 427 shifters that has, you know, the fake race lockout, has the proper knob, and I plan on installing one of those right off the bat here. Steering wheel, you know, the gauges are terrible. I don't like the layout. That's Factory 5 standard layout. For whatever reason, I don't know why they won't accommodate the SC layout and make that an option. I think they did for a short time, but of course, like everything at Factory 5, unavailable, out of stock, unavailable, out of stock. And I think that's so they can sell it with their kits, not that they're actually unavailable, out of stock. But I digress. Sun visors, vent wings. And if we look down here, now this is part of the reason that, you know, that I got such a good deal. Look at this. There's no pedal covers at all. Nothing. Those are the stock Fox body pedals. They don't even have the rubber pads on them. And the gas pedal, for lack of a better, that's just a lever. And so I'm going to take care of that right away. That's job one. Job one is to install AC pedal covers and a proper gas pedal. I'm going to install the reproduction shifter handle. The thing, it desperately needed to be cleaned. And good thing, my friends here, doors, proper door latches, and those are, that's based in carriage technology. I believe these are patterned after the originals. They were patented in the late 1800s for horse-drawn carriages. The same latches. They're not going to give you any protection in a side impact. They say you need to drive this like you're driving a motorcycle, because if you get hit, you have very little protection, even though it is a car and not a motorcycle. But the doors open and close properly. Let's see what else. Oh, the Mark 4s could accommodate a bigger tire, up to like a 315 millimeter tire. So let's see, what about this here? Okay, first thing, as I'm staring at the wheels, torque thrust wheels, not Halibrands. Now, these were used back in the day on Cobras, drag cars, road race cars. They're probably, maybe they were a tad better for racing applications than the Halibrands. I mean, they used the Halibrand wheels at Le Mans and everything else. But anyway, they're not my favorites. They're somewhat appropriate. They're 17s as well. And now these small drums and discs in the front would accommodate 15-inch wheels, which is really nice. And I'm probably going to go with 15-inch Halibrands for that look. Why not? The brakes are good. The brakes are decent. They're adequate. They're not they're not spectacular. Oh, so let's see. So you guys probably also noticed. So let's talk about what's wrong with it. The wheels, not Halibrands. They're not necessarily wrong. They're not what I would like. Those emblems, they're in the wrong place. First thing I saw it, I'm like, they're too low. They're supposed to be, it's about 1 inch above the vents. And Factory 5's vents are, they're vents in the fact that they are, like a louvered vent, but they're nothing like the originals. They are much better reproductions of the vents out there than that. There's a few things that Factory 5 did where they kind of cut corners, in my opinion, to make it look like the original. Nasty. There's a really nasty ding right there, but the owner disclosed that to me. No big deal. Oh yeah, hoods. So the Mark 1, 2, and then I think in the 3 they made provisions for. But anyway, it's a lift-off hood. You got pins here, you got your latches, the hood lifts off. The Mark 4s all come, they have provisions for hinges. So the hood opens properly with a hidden hinge. And you can buy aftermarket kits to fix these, but all the Mark 1s and 2s, I believe transitional Mark 3s came with lift-off hoods. I'm sure guys will correct me if I'm wrong. That emblem is wrong. That's a tiny little, it's a little over 1 inch. There should be a nice big 2-inch emblem in there, basically touching both sides of the stripe. There's no emblem, you guys who saw, there's no emblem in the back. There should be another one of those 2-inch Cobra or AC emblems, right up here in this area in the back. Now I have those emblems. That desperately needs to be cleaned. Maybe some Neverdull, some polish there. That's terrible. Nice tail lamps here. Nice quick jacks. Reverse lights. Now the trunk, no carpet in the trunk. Just this small attention to detail. Factory 5 sells carpet trunk. It's $35 for the kit. Why would you not do this? I could easily put on pedal covers, a different shifter, the proper emblems, carpet trunk, give it a good detail, a clean, and I could sell this for $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 more than I paid for it. Oh, so some things that weren't disclosed to me. The seller stated that the speedometer was kind of bouncy, and it does bounce like crazy, and it's 10 miles an hour fast. The temperature gauge doesn't work. I drove it 75 miles home. We didn't get above 135, 140 degrees according to that temperature gauge, so we know that doesn't work. What else? Let's see. Oh, I broke the emergency brake. Now that was, it was rusty and ready to let go. The first time I started the car, I pulled on it and it broke. Not really a huge deal. Oh, the fan. So the electric fan, and we'll look in the engine compartment after. The electric fan is on a switch, and only a switch. No, it's not on a thermostat. And to me, it shouldn't be wired that way. It's easy enough. It's cheap enough to have a thermostatic switch that turns the fan on when it needs it, turns it off when it doesn't need it. That switch, that's fraught with problems. Do you remember to turn it on? Do you remember to turn it off? It shouldn't be up to you. That's one of those things where it should be on a switch. Oh yeah, I remember I said it was the car was built by a Maine sheriff's deputy out in Maine. He put the Police Interceptor logo there. It's okay for now. It's filling up that blank space. I'd be worried that if I pulled it off there with a double 3M, that it's gonna, it'll leave a mark in there, right in the center of the dash there. This car does have heat. Again, different states have different laws, and I believe this car being manufactured in Maine, he was required to have windshield wipers, which you can see, it has windshield wipers. It may have been required to have heat to act as a type of a defrost. And you saw back here, it has backup lights. Other states don't have those requirements. Let's see. Oh yeah, I asked him if it leaked oil. He said, oh, you know, there might be a little drip under it, or, you know, this or that, but it's got a pretty decent oil leak. And like a Fox body, guess where it's leaking? The rear main seal. And do you remember what I told you about the transmission cross member? Yep, the whole engine and transmission would have to be pulled to fix that rear main seal leak. I'm not sure if there's anything that I can do with JB Weld, with gasket, with something, some kind of hack. You guys know some kind of hack that we can do to make that happen? Please, please, please let me know. This one, you know, they talk about the let's see, the perky butt syndrome, and this one's really not too bad. I think when he built it, he made provisions to drop the rear end down as much as he could. Already with those 17s, those big tires in the back, you hit a bump hard enough and it's hitting the inside of the tub there. So I don't know how you could have dropped this one down much more without causing any interference. You can see a good portion of the Fox body gas tank there underneath, which isn't super attractive. It does have the black cover on it, thankfully. Another thing I noticed was it has, you know, he painted the, you know, the 4-link there. You can see it right there where he left the brackets for the sway bar there. I'd probably cut those off. Those, you know, those 4-link bars, or the lower bar there is cheap enough to buy. You know, probably cut that one off with a grinder and give it some touch-up paint there. The brakes, again, Lincoln Mark 7 brakes, they're decent. No power. The one thing that one modern amenity that I would sacrifice, I would love to have power steering. This has, oh, I'll talk about some of the upgrades. So from donor parts, and we'll look at the engine after, of course. It has a world-class T5, a brand new transmission, not one from a junkyard. It has, you know, brand new Yukon gears and axles in the back. You can take off the wheels, it says Yukon on it. The rear end was completely rebuilt, you know, 355 gears. It's not called posi traction. I can't remember what Ford calls it, traction lock, whatever, but it has a, you know, limited slip differential in there, aftermarket, you know, a good one there. The other thing that I noticed that I'm gonna have to take care of pretty much immediately, I don't know if we can see under there, but that is the lower radiator hose, okay? That's a rubber hose that has no protection. I can't believe that that's the way Factory 5 designed it. You could use one of those corrugated metal hoses would be better, or you know, you can weld in, what I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna weld in a piece of pipe that's bigger than that. I'll weld it right to the frame and then put that hose through it to, you know, to give it some protection. That, you're asking for problems. I mean, just a little, you know, a stick, a piece of road debris could puncture or rip that hose, and you're gonna lose all your coolant and you'll be dead in the water. Oh, where'd my son go? I didn't mention, I don't know if I mentioned this, but another thing that wasn't disclosed to me is that the owner said that it was just musty from sitting. And I didn't notice when I went for the test drive to look at it. And then when I drove it the 75 miles home, I didn't really notice anything. There was some hair in it. And I'm like, oh, from your dog. And he said, no, it was from a cat. I'm like, oh, okay. And he mentioned that he'd stored it at his son's house in a barn. What I learned quickly is once I got home and I started kind of pulling things apart and disturbing things, a cat had definitely taken up residence in this, and it had sprayed, you know, peed in the thing at least once. You know, I believe it's the passenger side seatbelt, because it was all tucked behind the seat. And once I pulled it out to give my 13-year-old a ride, that's when I really noticed it. So that's one of the other first things that I'm going to do, and I will take you guys along for that, is I'm going to work really hard to destinkify the car. It came with a car cover, and I should have tipped me off. He's like, I'm going to wash the car cover for you. He said, I'm not going to do it here at my house, and that was all he said. He didn't end up doing it, but that was a sign that the car cover smelled like cat pee, and he wanted to take it to the laundromat and not use his home washing machine for it. But yeah, it's not, I've been after it already. You know, again, I've already shot the video for me working on the destinkification of it. And that's why it's sitting out here in the sun, because realistically, and I'll say this, it's just going to take time to get rid of time and effort and energy to get rid of that smell. All right, let's take a brief pause and we'll look at the engine. All right, so we have lifted off the hood. Not really accustomed, I had to be careful. There's little proprietary washers there, stainless and then rubber underneath washers. They go flying. If you're not careful, ask me how I learned about that. Anyway, so let's look at the engine. And this is a standard 5-liter right out of a Fox Body Mustang. It's from an 88, which basically means it doesn't have mass airflow. It has speed density, which isn't ideal. I would prefer mass airflow. It's more what I know. But anyway, so Dennis Gage, my classic car, would take one look at this and be like, oh, you drive it. Yeah, because you'd see how grungy and dusty and dirty, and there's a little bit of fine oil spray, like here on the valve covers and stuff. And yeah, but I have so many parts from having the Fox body. I have a whole other engine if I needed it sitting on the engine stand in there. And like I have a high performance coil, I have E3 plugs, I can upgrade the spark plug wires, even though those look okay. I intensely dislike those intake manifolds. They don't flow well, they look crappy. I'm not really thrilled with that cold air intake either. I would probably prefer Anderson Ford Motorsport makes a nice power pipe, which would snake it down a little bit with a bigger air filter. Probably would do something like that. I have a lot of plans. A lot of the stuff that went with my last car it's gone. I'm going to redo. I'd love to do a Holley Sniper kit with a turkey pan, just for the look, but maintain the fuel injection. I'd love to do the Thunderbird Galaxy, overflow expansion tank on there. One day even, the blue Paxton and the bonnet over the carburetor, maybe one day. Those are kits. The single supercharger kits are $3,500, so it's a big deal. Oh, I didn't mention, has a Flaming River quick ratio steering rack, and I know from the Mark IIs to the 3s and 4s, they move the position of that to give it better geometry and lessen the Ackerman, which is the bump steer. You hit a bump and it turns your wheel. But that is aftermarket. It's not a Fox Body Mustang. It's a Flaming River quick ratio steering wheel. So there's some upgrades in the right places here. So yeah, standard Fox Body Mustang. It's not pretty. Oh, the valve covers. I would really like to do, the proper Cobra Power by Ford from the 289, from the small block valve covers, or, maybe some plain aluminum valve covers with the emblem on them, the Power by Ford emblem like they did with the 427s might look cool. Some guys have the Le Mans black powder coated fin valve covers. Maybe I'll do that. Oh, I'm going to do right away. I've already purchased stuff. I kept a lot of the stuff, so I'm going to do an oil cooler, really just for looks, but I have a nice valve that doesn't open the oil cooler until 180 degrees. I'm going to install one of those. I have a lot of the parts for that. I bought the vintage fans too, which really we'll put in there just for the looks. Hold on one second. We'll put the hood on and we'll close this video out. All right, so there's the new project in the metal shop. Factory 5 Mark II Roadster, a replica of the venerable Shelby Cobra, a car that I've always loved. If you love the GT40s, the Panteras, the Cobras, you are speaking my language. And this one is a great project. Has the bones the way I like it. Has the side pipe single roll bar. I can the gauges, the wheels, everything. I can do all of that. First order of business, like I said, I'm changing that shifter. I'm tackling those pedals, working on the defunkification of the interior. I got a lot of projects to do, my friends. Sorry if this video is a bit long-winded, but you get me talking about Cobras and about Fords, and I like to talk. So as always, my friends, thank you for watching. Putting the hood on is a tiny bit cumbersome by yourself, but it's doable, not too bad. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, please give me a sub. Please click the like, give the video a share, and definitely hit me up in the comments. If you know a hack for that rear main seal, please hit me up in the comments. I still don't get too many comments. I still respond to every single one that I get. All right, my friends, so I guess we're gonna have to bring this back. The new Factory 5 Mark II project, Cobra. All right, my friends, thanks. Bye-bye.